Today on the channel, we take a look at the Riff Lord himself, Tony Iommi, with the Knucklebonz Tony Iommi statue.
The spirit of Ultimate Warrior will run forever!
Welcome everyone, Kyle here, and welcome back to the channel for another Knucklebonz unboxing and review. Of course, Knucklebonz heavy metal statues. We've unboxed these on the channel before, and you guys know I'm a serial dabbler in these. I've had tons of these over my life. I've had the Slayer set, the Judas Priest set, the Ghost figures, of course, Lemmy and Motorhead, Ronnie James Dio, Dave Mustaine and Megadeth. I've had a bunch of these, and I still have a bunch of these in my collection. I have sold off a few, as these are limited edition, and once they are retired and sold out, they do nothing but climb in the aftermarket. And I got a crazy offer for my Slayer set, the one that I just could not refuse. More than quadrupled my money on each one. I mean, it was just absolutely ridiculous. So these are a value investment too. And I don't always look at this stuff as investments. As you guys know, I'm just about decorating my workspace and work around me and stuff. And hey, if I can get money from them down the road, hey, that's great. But I get my enjoyment of them at the time. And that's where we are here today with Tony Iommi. I picked this one up over the 4th of July weekend. They had a big sale on the Knucklebonz site. I believe he was only $79, and these are around $125 to $149 plus shipping normally. So got to get a deal all day long. And Tony Iommi, one of, if not the greatest heavy metal guitarist of all time. Yeah, he doesn't got the flash of Dimebag Darrell or a Zakk Wylde, or the two guitar attack of the Glenn Tipton and KK Downings or Dave Murray and Adrian Smiths of the world. But something about Tony Iommi, just the power of his riffs throughout the years, going all the way to his solo stuff, of course, the different incarnations of Black Sabbath. There isn't a better riff lord out there than Tony Iommi. And the cool thing is, a lot of his stuff is very simple, like Paranoid and, you know, a lot of the Black Sabbath stuff. Very easy to pick up on the guitar just after a couple of minutes if you know what you're doing, which is really cool because you're not going to be Eddie Van Halen overnight, but you can be Tony Iommi pretty quick. Obviously, you're not going to sound exactly like him, but some of the most iconic riffs of all time in heavy metal. So definitely a guy that deserves everything and more. The Black Sabbath really did lay the footprint for heavy metal, as we all know. And of course, you got Ozzy, you got Geezer, you got Bill Ward, the rest of the crew there. Black Sabbath, a mainstay of my heavy metal fandom. I never heard of Black Sabbath until Faith No More covered War Pigs. I was about 8 years old. I was in love with Faith No More. Said, oh, this is a cover. I'm going to search out that. I searched out Black Sabbath, checked that out. Went into Ozzy, went into Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, and the rest snowballed from there. So I owe a lot to Tony Iommi and, of course, Black Sabbath for my heavy metal fandom here since I was a 9-year-old kid. I can't believe it. And we're going to do this review like we do all the other reviews on the channel. We're going to take a look at the packaging. We're going to talk about it. We're going to unbox it. We're going to talk about it. We're going to see where it goes from there. Obviously, it's a statue, so it's not going to be quite the action figure. It's more of an overview, I guess we'll say. But we'll talk about it and all that kind of stuff. So without further ado, let's stop gushing about my love for Tony Iommi and let's get down to the statue. Let's take a look at the packaging here. Beautiful, beautiful box. All the boxes on these are pretty much the exact same, same size, much like Super 7. But you get the Tony Iommi, you get the cool purple look going on. There's, of course, the statue. There's, of course, his name. You got the Iommi logo there. If you guys never heard some of those Iommi albums back in the day, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, What Is Time? Glenn Hughes sang on some of them. Great stuff to check out with the old Tony Iommi. On the side, you got the Iommi. It's actually the base of this actual statue here, which is really cool there, but it's also the Iommi logo. Same thing on that side. Iommi up there. UPC's on the bottom. And then the back, that's where all the magic happens on the back. That is a blurb for the ages. I will take a picture of that blurb. You guys can pause it and read it, but there is a lot going on in that blurb. Of course, the bottom here, it says about Knucklebonz. Limited edition, 3,000 statues here made of this. When they're gone, they are gone forever. But we have seen, like Ronnie James Dio, they made a young version, an old version. Lemmy, a young version, an old version. Who knows? Maybe we'll get another Tony Iommi someday. I'm not going to hold my breath, though. I think this is probably a one-and-done Tony Iommi. But very, very cool. Like I said, 3,000 units made, 1/9 scale, 8 to 9 inches tall is what we got going on here. Of course, he does have his Gibson SG guitar, as he should, of course. It's funny, too, is my first, well, I wouldn't say my first knowledge of Tony Iommi, but one of the crazy things about Tony Iommi is if you ever saw the Rock and Roll Circus from the Rolling Stones, got to tell you guys, I'm not a Rolling Stones guy. Just never did anything for me. I'm more of a Beatles guy, Who guy, a lot of other bands from that time frame. Rolling Stones never caught my eye, but I did really enjoy the Rock and Roll Circus because of Jethro Tull, Taj Mahal, Eric Clapton. I loved watching that back in the day. And a little known fact, Tony Iommi is actually the guitarist for Jethro Tull in the Rolling Stones Rock and Roll Circus. So your factoid of the day. But I'm going to put that off to the side because I got Tony Iommi out of the package, all ready to go right here. Beautiful, beautiful statue. Like any statue, you got to be careful. You drop one of these things, guess what? It's going to break on you. That's what's going to happen. But let's break this down. Now, the base is very cool. It is the Iommi logo that we saw on the side of the package here. It's got the Iommi font. Very cool, kind of a cross type look. Of course, Black Sabbath, all about the crosses, things like that. Of course, the inlay on Tony Iommi's guitar has nice crosses there. And of course, I have an SG just like that with the Tony Iommi crosses on the fretboard. Very, very cool. Love Tony Iommi here. Love this, how it sits. Love how it stands. Now, the statue, of course, he's got a peg on his foot. It does, you know, you give Tony Iommi the old spin-a-rooney there, he will stick into the base. Now, they do recommend, you do not have to, and I do not do this, but they say you can put super glue on the threads there. When you turn it, he will lock into place here. I'm not a big fan of that. I like to be able to take him off and put him back in the cushioned box. If you're moving or doing something like that, you super glue him in, he's pretty much stuck. And he could break and travel, all that kind of stuff. So choose your own adventure, what you want to do, how you want to stick these guys in here. But then you get down to Tony Iommi. Now, I'm not going to say this is his most iconic look. When I think of Tony Iommi, I think him wearing basically all black. Black button-down shirt, black pants, black shoes. But this is a very early version of Tony Iommi. This is very early Black Sabbath here. Of course, the SG, I always like him with a black SG. But he played multiple colors, usually red or black, even dabbled in a little white. But a very, very cool one. Now, this is an older guitar. Once again, you don't have the fret inlays. Does not say Gibson on the headstock. Got to think that is kind of a licensing issue. Just have to imagine that is the case. And it's not, it looks like an SG, but it's not 100% SG. It's kind of like some of those other guitar manufacturers can make kind of clones, just enough to be different, as we know. But this is very early Iommi. Like I said, he's got the big, fluffy shirt. He almost looks like Richie Blackmore here. I think some people, if you had a different guitar, hey, this is Richie Blackmore. Put a little top hat on him. For those that know Richie Blackmore, another one, all-time great, one of the greatest rock musicians of all time, Richie Blackmore. Look him up. If you don't know Richie, you know Richie. We all know Richie. But Tony looks good here. He does got the typical guitar player stance in the face with the eyes closed, just feeling the music. Always kind of funny. You get that guitar face going on. He has it here in this statue. Got the white puffy shirt, the black trousers, the white platform boots. Man, he's just all out 70s here, Tony Iommi. But very, very cool. Good skin tone here. Now, the attention to detail. For those of you guys who don't know Tony Iommi, he did lose the tips of his fingers in an accident. It was like his last day in the steel mill, I believe it was, back in Birmingham, England, back in the day. He was going full-time with Black Sabbath. Guess what? He chopped off his fingertips, thought his career was done forever, but he got to home, and he did put on that scientist hat. He said, I'm going to figure this out, and he got some tips of, I think it was like a soap bottle or something like that. Cut them off, formed them around his fingers, taught himself to play with those, and they have those on here. That is good attention to detail, if you ask me. I talked about the red guitar going on, of course, very iconic SG-styled guitar, but very, very cool. If you're into heavy metal, if you're into Tony Iommi, this is something you're going to want in your collection. Like I said, Black Sabbath, the forefathers of heavy metal, still to this day. Beautiful things. He actually just played, you Birminghamians, yeah, him and Ozzy, I think it was a lip sync performance. It didn't look quite live to me, but they just performed recently at the Commonwealth Games. Not sure what that is. I'm not from England, as you guys know, but I did watch the clip of them playing. Good to see Tony out there. You know he's got a million riffs to let go still. Hopefully we get some more Tony Iommi action in the future. I know Bill and Geezer are basically all but retired. Ozzy, I don't know what's going to happen with Ozzy. He's supposed to tour again. I just don't see that happening. I forgot to mention the gold cross on Tony Iommi as well. The cross, of course, all members of Black Sabbath had back in the day. Very, very cool, but very iconic, very awesome. If you've never checked out the Knucklebonz statues, go to their website. Check them out. I'm not sure exactly what they have. They're starting to branch off into like props and different other kind of things. but they do have great heavy metal statues, and you guys know I'm here for it. More Motorhead, please, and I wouldn't be opposed to the Black Sabbath team as well. We'll see what they got in the future, but as I said, got to get a deal. This was on sale. Some of the older ones do go on clearance from time to time. That's when you can swoop in and pick yourself up something, like I picked up this Tony Iommi. But let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Do you have any Knucklebonz statues? You ever dabble in the statues? Let me know your thoughts on this Tony Iommi Knucklebonz statue. Almost said figure, but no, statue. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And don't forget to like this video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Turn on the old notification bell. We got videos and then some every single day. And if you're a Patreon subscriber, guess what? You get even more video content, bonus content, exclusive content, early videos, Q&As, and don't forget about the monthly figure giveaways all over there on Patreon. Best of all, you do get to support the channel when you do that. You can also support the channel at ProWrestlingTees.com, search Kyle Peterson, and follow along on social media at SirPaul64 on Twitter, Instagram, _Kyle_Peterson. So for Tony Iommi, I am Kyle, and I will see you guys all real soon.